Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live programs. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Savage, and I will be your host for today. We will be exploring life itself, a big topic for today, as it relates to our individual lives and experiences, anywhere from the lens of musician, artist, manager, performer, and all the way down to the eye level of the crude and unfiltered human being. Life. Normal life. Easy life, hard life. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and this could leave you with more questions than simple answers, but it's more real that way, and that's what we're here for. And here's a little preview to check out to show you what we're all about. Want. Which is best?
And you said that I became a manager in response to my own career. Yeah. That's a perfect example of need. I simply did not want to do that. The job of management wasn't being done according to my specifications. Was it not enough concerts? Was it too many concerts? Was it not enough quality concerts? All the money-making stuff was just left behind, and I had to fill it in. And so I thought, since I'm filling it in myself, I might as well take it all, Then I met Jack Price, and then I became Jack Price, and then the rest is whatever, the story. Want is a desire. You want something. I want an enchilada, or I want, okay. I want a career. I want a brand new car. You don't need any of these things. You might need a career, but you could have a career in another thing. I think that's pertaining to a career that you really want. A need is something that requires something to satisfy it. If I don't have food, I'm going to die. Got to have fuel. It's sort of like our website. I have fire all over the place. And the idea is the fire or the embers represent fueling. You have to fuel the fire to have a career, meaning that you have to have the money to sustain the hysteria. Yeah, no amount of talent, no amount of looks, no amount of sexiness can sustain it. If no one's hysterical over you, you're not going to, it's not going to last. Paying taxes and dying. Now, but it is a fact that you don't have to pay taxes. Many people don't. Okay, but you do have to die. My question is, why is everyone afraid of death? What I wanted to do, I think I've stated this before, is a burning desire all my life to be excellent. It was not to have a major career. I obsessed with perfecting the physicality of playing. I said I work on execution. I was born with the ability to interpret the music of others. I can teach you how to play the piano in about 15 seconds, like Glenn Gould said. In 1981, that's when I've had my first breakthrough. 81. In 81, up till then, I was just playing the same way over and over. And we all know that's the definition of madness. Leaning to the right, leaning to the left, sitting high, sitting back. It seems real basic, angles, but it's not. Well, I started seeing the angles. I started seeing things. Instead of using muscle, I started using bone and leverage because muscle tires. Bone doesn't tire. So if you know what you're doing, you can repeat the act. Musicality is, to me, a very bad term, as well as technique, as well as rubato. I came up with two terms: serious music and continuing music.
All right. That was our last episode, a little recap. And today, I'm excited to be joined live with co-host and celebrated partner in crime, Tigran Atamian, otherwise known as Jack Price. And just to give a little introduction, formerly known as Tigran Atamian and now known as Jack Price, he began his career in artist management in response to his own career as an RCA recording artist after winning first prize in the 50th anniversary Nuremberg competitions, as well as being known as the crazy pianist who premiered The Right for Solo Piano. Welcome to the show, Jack Price.
Well,
great to have you on.
This self-grant, what is it?
Aggrandizing.
Shameless self-promotion. I love it, don't you?
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. Anyway,
well, how about
number
instead
one,
of self-promotion? Yeah, let's mention our opening intro was actually by great jazz pianist,
very great
Sarah
pianist.
Jane Sion, I believe. Yeah.
Sion, yeah.
Sion.
Sarah Jane Sion is a major pianist. She won the Great American Jazz Competition, which is the counterpart to, say, is the Thelonious Monk competition. It's like the Clyburn versus the Tchaikovsky or something like that.
Right, yeah.
It's very big. And I've known her for a long time, or I've known of her for a long time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now she's the head of our jazz division. And of course she's on the jazz roster. And she wrote me a piece, Waltz for JP, and I thought it was so cute. And
that was it. We just heard, that was
not all of it
for JP. Yeah,
we didn't hear all of it, and there are words to it too. They're kind of embarrassing, actually. I'm not going to let
a little
it.
bit. All right.
Yeah, a little bit strange. No, they're not. They're really beautiful, Jane. I mean, Sarah. I didn't mean that. Okay, so
I'm sure she.
No, it's really good. It's a really good
nice little
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's our theme song now.
Yeah. So that's our show intro.
And that last show is really, really intense. I cannot recognize myself, in these little clips. Strange, very strange.
Okay, well, let's get into another intense episode, because our topic for today is life itself. So let's go on and see what's behind door number 1 when it comes to life. Okay, so easy life. Yeah.
Well, you've heard of
you really think? Yeah.
I'll tell you what I really think. I watched a show in the 50s, 60s, The Life of Riley. Have you ever heard of it? You can YouTube it. Oh, yeah, it's this guy in a hammock. The guy that played Riley was phenomenal. Great actor, perfect for this role. And it's about a guy who just sits in a hammock all the time, just like enjoying life. And you must think, he must have all the money in the world. He must just have it all, but he doesn't look like he's rich or anything. He's just kind of a everyman, He has a nice little house with a picket fence,
Pretty normal, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if he had a wife or children, but the life of Riley is what I think of when I see that door, Easy Life. It's just immediate.
That picture of Riley enjoying his normal and easy life.
And it's now, yes, absolutely. And it's now a coined phrase. Everybody says, he wants the life of Riley. So that's where I came up with this. Oh. So the life of Riley it's from the show. It doesn't exist. Okay. So this whole episode on life is a show or an example of things that are not, okay?
That are not existent?
They don't exist. In other words, there is no easy life. There is no difficult or hard life. There's no normal life. There's no any kind of life. There's just life. And when people realize that they're not the only ones going through this life, then they're going to feel much better. I mean, after all, the premise of this show was, if you remember, is like a manual. Okay, so I present some scenarios or predicaments, and my idea through questions to me and you and everybody is to solve these What do you do when you're presented with this?
Right. You find your breakthroughs, which is what you're known for and what the show's all about. You're not really living if you're not making breakthroughs.
Yeah, I just had a breakthrough at the sink earlier. Yeah, I turned this bottle one way and it fit just perfectly with this other bottle.
Wow.
I go and I do it. Yeah, and I say breakthrough. I always say that to myself. Breakthrough. There was this guy at Ravinia. Not to get sidetracked, but I would come out of my practice room going like this all the time, throwing my arm up in the air.
Right?
Yeah, on stage. I would do this. Too. And then they said that my tongue would hang out like that. And then I would come through with my breakthrough. You know, they say, "Oh, there's Richie with another breakthrough," and I would say, "Yeah, man, you can't believe it. I'm just dangling my wrist today, and it's like effortless." And of course, we know that's not true because tomorrow it's going to be hanging from the keyboard, and I'm going, "It's totally effortless." You know, it's just like it's such a joke.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
Right. Okay, so back to easy life, right?
Until you find the back to easy life. There isn't an easy life because it's like saying I was presented once with this pianist. I said, "Hey, how many hours a day do you practice?" This is a famous pianist, maybe not to everybody. He goes, "I don't practice." I said, "I know, it sounds like it." You know, so in other words, I was not very nice. This person, I will not, his name starts with a B, by the way.
Okay,
so you can try to, not Brendel, no. Anyway, so he said, "I never practice." And I said, "Of course it sounds like," he said, "That's rude." And I said, "No, it really is true. You're very gifted, but it sounds like you never practice." So in other words, it was just life. I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm not praising the guy. I'm just saying this is what it is. And that's what life is.
You're saying that you just saying what you believe to be true to this pianist is just life.
It's not what I believe. He really sounded like he never practiced. Okay, so I'm presenting facts. It's not even a matter of interpretation. You know when someone works hard. You can tell. Because even though they're supremely gifted, you can tell when someone works. Like last night's concert. I won't digress, but it was superb. And you can tell this woman really works hard. Yes, she has a supreme gift, but you know, it's there. Yeah. So anyway, back to easy life. For example, Dina, you know, the violinist, she doesn't have an easy life because she demands a lot from that Sibelius concerto. So therefore her life is not easy, but is it really difficult? Not really, because she's so gifted. So you can go around and around this thing.
You're talking about an aspect of her playing, her performance, her pursuit of these.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
it's life is just life. So back to this life of Riley. Here's my life of Riley. Do you want to know what it would be? I want to have my McDonald's iced coffee here in the morning and a bacon roller. You don't know what that is. And then I go to my apartment and I would like to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm morning, noon, and night. That would be the life of Riley for me, with a few little excursions in between. I won't describe what those are. But anyway, basically, you know, just fooling around. And I think everybody wants that life of Riley, but it's not realistic because
do they really want it? Yeah.
No, they don't. See, that's the thing. They want it, but then they think, wow, that's really boring. I'd much rather have breakthroughs at the piano. And that's when, you know, that's my thing. So then I think, well, let's go practice for a while and see what happens, you know. And that's kind of the way I practice. I go, let's just see what's going to happen today. And for sure, every day it changes. Every day. Change is the inevitable. So that makes easy life, difficult life, normal life, underprivileged life, whatever you want to call it.
That is the antithesis to the life of Riley, right? Change. Because what you're seeking from the life of Riley is just no change, essentially. I mean,
life of Riley is consistently... That's not what you
actually want, right? Mm-hmm.
I don't think we want that. Anyway, I think we've exhausted that topic.
All right. So let's pivot here with a little clip we'd like to feature right here on Jack Price is Right. So stay tuned with us. right, and that was a clip featuring pianist Frane at the piano, and that was the Tchaikovsky piano trio in A minor. And let's bring him back on to the show to discuss.
God, I love that piece.
Yeah,
wow,
amazing.
What a piece!
Right? Yeah,
that and the Ravel trio have got to be the greatest trios. Just incredible piece.
It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Both in A minor, by the way.
Yeah, love our A minor. You know, to tie this into our topic for today, life, right? As a pianist, what do you think? How do you think when we talked about life and change, right? Life of Riley, that's the antithesis to change. How do you relate that to being a performer and an artist, and with your pieces? You're constantly evolving and constantly changing, right? I mean, you know, like it's like if you play the Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 2, and it's one way 2 years ago, and then you pick it up the next year, or in the next year, and it's different every time. Is that part of being an artist, where you're almost seeking a hard life and demanding, like you said about Dina, she demands the Sibelius Violin Concerto to be on another level. And if you stick to one level and you're always constantly at the same level, it's like the life of Riley. You're just content with the same thing. But if you're not, there's a hunger for excellence. There's a hunger for the difficult, almost, you might say. Like you're almost seeking out that difficulty and just wringing as much as you can out of certain pieces throughout your career. Yeah, how do you feel about that when it comes to being an artist and a pianist and a performer? Yeah.
Well, the life of Riley doesn't apply to that scenario you presented.
Yeah.
When you're demanding of something, like if you challenge the music itself or the form of music itself, you challenge your religious beliefs, you challenge everything you believe in. That is not the life of Riley. You're asking for a life of turmoil, because you're going to constantly question yourself. See, life is
good
about
enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's this man right at the end of his life. He goes, "Is that it? Is that all there is?" You know, he's thinking
on his deathbed, right?
Yeah. I mean, he really thinks that is that it? I mean, are you kidding? There's so much more, but there isn't, because his life was his life. That's life. You see. So this life of Riley aspect is a complete myth. It doesn't exist even in the slightest, because of one thing: boredom. If you have this life of Riley, being human is to challenge and to say, I want more, I want this, I want some more candy, I want some more cars, whatever it is. I'm using really stupid examples, but basically, we want more. Give someone 2 pieces of candy and they want 5 more. If you give someone an inch, they want a yard. If you give someone a car, they want 3 cars or a fleet.
So you're saying
this is just human. Never. Nobody's ever content. I've never known anyone that was totally content with their life, unless they were super old and couldn't really do anything. Then they go, I have no regrets. Well, when I'm dying, I won't be saying that. I'm going to say, I had a lot of regrets, and I have them right now. Lots of regrets.
So a lot of unrealized potential,
sure, unresolved situations and relationships, and life's too complicated to have a life of Riley.
So that's why you believe that, the easy life, or as we're calling it, the life of Riley, can't exist, because you're always going to want more.
It doesn't exist. But neither do the other ones that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so let's move on and see what is behind door number 2, which we've already kind of gotten into, but let's just see. So
yeah, see,
hard life?
It's simple. Hard life. See, it's just a matter of interpretation.
Exist? Yeah.
No, it doesn't exist either. See, the thing is, there's some people, some say, oh, I have such a hard life. It's just, I have to do this. I have to take the kids and I have to go across town. It's 100 miles a day and the gasoline's killing me, you know, the price, blah, blah. I mean, this could go on forever. What's the point?
Everything.
Let me ask you something. What's the point of complaining when it does absolutely no good? There's no benefit. Think about it. There's no benefit to complaining.
Like tangible benefit, or, I mean,
there's only one benefit in complaining.
There is some relief to it.
Yeah, you get it off your chest. You go, oh, I feel really good. I just cursed my butt off right there, and now I feel really good because I like to curse a lot. So I go blah 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 blah, and I feel I let off some steam, and but it really doesn't. Yeah, let off some steam. So what? You're right back where you started from, like in the movie Witches of Eastwick. Jack Nicholson tells one of the witches, you know, the girls, he says, yeah, you're just going to make the bed today and it's going to get all messed up tonight. And you're going to have to make it again tomorrow. And you're going to have to do the wash.
Yeah, right. Well, so, you know, the release is something. It's useful in itself, right?
Temporary.
Instead of bottling it up, right? I mean, that makes things worse. Wouldn't you say the release also brings you back to a state of mind where you're able to keep going, you're able to keep thinking and keep making breakthroughs and whatever it is that you need to do to overcome whatever it was that was stressing you out, right?
Well, one thing that's good about stress, if you release it from time to time or often, you won't get cancer. That's what they say. In other words, cancer is caused by aggravation more than anything else, rather than, oh, you know, it's in the genes and, you know, his father had cancer. A lot of people believe that cancer, that the most passive life, the most calm life is the cancerless life, you know. But I use cancer like in a more poetic way, you know. I think of things as spreading like cancer. I don't even think about the actual thing called cancer. So, you know.
So how do we tie cancer into hard life?
How do we do what? Sorry?
How are we tying cancer as it relates to the hard life back to circle back to our subtopic here?
Well, see, I don't think it's a hard life. You know, I can say this with some experience. I know several people that are alive right now, 2 or 3, that have cancer.
Right.
And they pull the cancer card on you all the time. And that's because it's not in remission, but it's stable. Okay, when something is stable, not necessarily in remission, meaning you're terminal, but when it's stable, that can last for 20 years. I know my father-in-law, the conductor Gustav Meyer, had it for 20 years, and he did everything very well. He microbiotic diet, all this stuff to stay alive, and he did a very good job of it. But the point is, he is an example of the good cancer life. And that is, he never complained. He just did the best he could. He never complained about anything. I'm not saying I would do that because we all know I would complain. But the point is, he never complained. He really never did. Now, there are these other 3 people
things being difficult, right?
Yeah. To him, it was not a hard life. It was a challenge, and he met that challenge head on.
Oh, so you're talking about reframing a hard life of, instead of thinking of it as a hard life and you're complaining, I have such a hard life, I'm going to complain about it every day to whoever who will listen. You're reframing, recontextualizing it as it's a challenge that
you just said it.
Meet, right?
You answer your own question. You said think of. It's all a matter of an attitude. It's cancer, breaking your leg, not being crippled, whatever. I can give you all kinds of stories, biblical and non-biblical, of people that were left impaired, but it's for a reason, in my opinion. So in other words, it's not a hard life. You have to look at it differently. How about that you're an example to other people? So if you're impaired in some way, like you can't walk, so other people notice you and they say, wow, I'm so grateful that I can walk.
You'd have
Maybe
to
it's
think
for that.
outside of yourself a bit as well and find that
Yeah.
important.
Of
Yeah, to
course,
be an
when
example. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. When people just think of themselves, they're doing themselves an injustice. The minute you start thinking of other people and their needs, you're relieved somehow. You forget about your problems and you're more focused on their problems. That's therapy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is no hard life, you see. There's just life. There is no easy life. There's just life. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Well,
That's it.
life,
I have
isn't
nothing
it?
more to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
I could say more. I
Yeah,
could
I'm
say
sure.
more. But it's suffice to say there is no blank life. There's no descriptive. There's no
Right.
adjective
Right.
to go
These
with
are
life.
all
There-
arbitrary sort of labels and labels that are attached to certain mindsets, attitudes, as you say. Right.
yeah,
It's just- yeah.
and by the way, everybody goes through it. That's why I don't
Yeah.
understand death. If everyone has to die, then what's there to worry about? You're in the same boat with everybody. But it doesn't
Yeah.
help, see? Because
Okay. Yeah.
because you're dying, you're self-centered. You go, oh my gosh, I'm dying. Well, yeah, you are, but so is everybody else. Birth is the beginning of
Right.
death. So, sorry.
All right. Well, with that, that's all the time we've got for life. Thank you so much for being with us, Ruchi, Jack Bryce. Great having you on. And with that, the time is right. And I want to take a moment here to thank our partners and sponsors, without which our program would not have been possible. You can see many orchestras, academies, schools, opera houses, so many people and organizations and foundations, and so many people that have been standing behind us every step of the way. And we're sincerely grateful to have everyone along with us for the journey. And I also want to mention that we are streaming on all the major streaming platforms, from Facebook, Vimeo, Twitter, X, Alignable, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Check us out. Find us on any of these major platforms, whichever floats your boat. And also, a big shout out as well to our wonderful team from Virtual Concert Halls. Today's broadcast was powered by Krisztian Palagyi, directing behind the scenes. That's him. And couldn't have done it without you and everyone, our partners and organizers and supporters. And thank you guys. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. And with that, that's all we've got. This has been Jack Price is Right. I'm your host, Jennifer Savage. I hope that you've gotten a little something out of it. I know I did. See you next week.